Yo, welcome to another podcast where we're just traveling around doing a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yes, welcome. We're here in Mexico City. It's great. It's real hot.
It's very hot. I still like to wear sweaters though, for some reason. Pants and sweaters.
Yeah, so you were here for 5 months. I was here for about just shy of 4 weeks last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. You were here for a while, for sure. You definitely became a local.
Yeah, I deeply love this city. I've traveled to a few places in Mexico. When you talk to people, they only go to the stereotypical places like Carmen, Tulum, Cancun, a few other places, and I've been to a few of those locations, and most people have never been to Mexico City. I feel like every time somebody's like, hey, like, I have some friends or family, or somebody mentioned their neighbor was in Mexico, and I told them where I was at, and they're like, oh, I've heard that's dangerous. When I was here last time, like that, I had some family who was going to come visit, an aunt. They ended up being told by a neighbor and a friend that it was too dangerous. And I just don't agree with that. I deeply love this city. There's so many great things.
Yeah, for me, it's like any other big city, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're from Chicago, so we're used to getting that a lot. Like, I think a lot of people from smaller towns make sense, but of course there's danger. There's things that happen.
How much
there's
more
things they're
dangerous
battling here, but
how much more dangerous can it be than Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I haven't faced anything specifically, but I've never really felt in danger. And we've been out late sometimes.
Yeah, I know it definitely happens, and I think the big thing that is worth acknowledging, and we say this all the time, and I definitely think it's true around the world, that we are males, which makes this a lot easier. I think there is a very large issue with women's safety in Mexico, especially Mexico City. They have the feminist movement and female liberation to some extent of being safe and standing up for your rights and making sure that they stick together is a big thing. I think it can be dangerous for women in a lot of different ways, but outside of that, I really feel really at home here. It's easy to settle in. And my level of Spanish, I started learning Spanish here, and I think we've talked about it a lot. Like, Mexican Spanish is definitely different than Colombian, definitely different than Chilean, definitely different than Argentinian. And I love Mexican Spanish. I love the people, I love the food, I love everything about this place, and I just feel right at home. And so when I stayed here for like 5 full months last year, it was the longest I've ever stayed anywhere. I've never stayed anywhere that long. And you talk about how to connect with people, that is it. It's as much as I love moving around and seeing new things, like we've talked about it before, that's the one thing I think you sometimes miss is like deep connections, and I did that here, and I continue to come back. You're experiencing a little bit of it now because of how open Mexican people are, how friendly they are, how welcoming they are. Who told us that? It was Prentice. There are parties for everything all the time, almost every day, and gosh darn it, that is so true here.
Yeah, and just backtracking a little bit, the reason you were able to stay here for 5 months, if you can speak briefly to that, like at least at the moment we're recording this, a lot of places, like if it's visa on arrival, at least for Americans, it's 90 days, or you have to apply for a visa.
Yeah.
It's, 6 months
It's
you
a
can stay here?
full 6 months that you can stay here as an American, a U.S. citizen. I want to be careful saying American, because if you say that down here in Latin America or South America, you have to remember we're all Americans, because there are 5 continents according to South Americans and Latin Americans. For you North Americans, for everybody living in the United States and Canada, you're taught that there are 7 continents. But I will argue till my face is blue about that, and so will Latin Americans and South Americans. There are apparently only 5 continents, and America's all one. So just be careful calling yourself American here. But anyway, as a U.S. citizen, you can stay here for 6 months. And you can actually, what they call border jumping, border hopping, where you can just go to another country and then come right back, and your 6 months starts right over. I know people that have lived here for years doing that.
Without having to have a nomadic visa or whatever that's called.
Yeah,
or
tourist visa, nomad visa. Like, you don't have to have a living visa. What's a resident visa or any type of thing like that. You don't have to have it. You can just show up, and then the Mexican border, the customs will be like, hey, what are you doing here? Vacation? All right, cool, sounds good.
Have fun.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah, it was great. It was super easy. I don't think you could take advantage of it like forever. I think they'll start to look at you weird. But yeah, 6 months as a U.S. citizen, no questions asked. You walk in and super simple. I even went back to the States. We had a conference that we went to in Miami, if you remember that. I think we did that in late March or something. I'd been here for 3.5 months and went back, and I could have stayed another 6 months when I came back.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, with my experience this time, we went to a couple parties, a couple events, and what I noticed personally was, just compared to where we just came from, which is Colombia, I met a lot of expats, a lot of travelers, a lot of digital nomads that were doing a similar thing, and I thought that was cool. Of course, the locals are very friendly and very welcoming, but people from London, we had that one guy lived in South Africa for 7 months. Or
some Canadians
years.
Too. Yeah,
Canadians. Yeah, it's just like it definitely seems to be a hub where people come, travel to for a longer period of time, work a little bit, and go back home or stay here
or end up staying here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happens with a lot of these people that I've also talked to over my time, is that you come and you hear about what Mexico is and everybody knows it's great, and then they get here and they're like, oh shoot, it is much better than I thought. It's so easy to develop a clique, community of people that you're friends with. Again, people are just so open. There are other digital nomad communities and events and things that I go to when I'm traveling, and Evan will probably go to a few of them later on, but they're always the same. You're always getting people, white males from the United States, usually from like large cities, New York, LA, some very rarely Chicago, Dallas and Houston and things. And then they get there and they're always saying the same things. Oh, I work in marketing and the things that I do, which I don't really need more willies. Like, one is enough. And the conversations are dull. They don't end up going anywhere. You never hang out with those people. That is just not true here. It is just not true. Everybody's doing so many different things, creatively thinking, having fun, enjoying their time, and then they're also open to developing like real friendships.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, from the last time we were here, we stayed in contact with 3 or 4 people that we came back and we're like, we're here. And they're like, I already got 4 events that we can go to. Come on out. Day one. Yeah, day one. We actually couldn't go to that one because we were like, we're too tired.
Yeah, no thank you.
But thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, just overall, experience is good. Can talk about some of the things that we did maybe in another episode. But overall, just the people, the vibe has always been great. We immediately got here and we were like, this is why we loved it. We somewhat forgot how great it was until we showed up.
You know, I was just talking to a client today who's from Mexico City but lives in the United States, and we were talking, I've mentioned this to you, one of my favorite things, and that always reminds me of my time here, is the sounds of Mexico. The sounds of Mexico City. There are some and if you've been here before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I could rattle some sounds off that you would definitely know. We talked about the gas guy who like goes around. One that I had forgotten about that I hadn't heard here yet is the knife sharpening guy that like goes around. He like has a whistle. He like whistles really loud, and to bring your knives out and get them sharpened. Or the band that always plays that you hear everywhere, or the bell that the trash truck uses, and it goes all around town. Just so many beautiful sounds that remind me of so many great experiences.
The people who like buy electronics.
Oh yeah, that was the first one that he mentioned. Yeah. I genuinely don't have any idea what they're saying to some extent, but it's fun to listen to them.
Yeah.
And immediately you're like, okay, this is why I came here. The sounds, the people, the food, the openness, the parties, we were walking, if you remember at El Centro when we were walking yesterday, it was so crazy just watching how many different types of experiences people were having just in this small park, Main Street area. So many people set up on the street selling God knows what, everything you could possibly need. It felt like they just go to their closet and they're like, hey, I have all these things. Do you need some? And then it's fun. Dancing in the park, clowns everywhere, bands playing, like protests happening. It's just so many things in such a small area, and the city is so alive. It is unlike anywhere else I've ever traveled, and I love it for that reason. And I think it's easy for other people to fall in love, which is why people end up staying here for so long.
Yeah. So luckily they let us stay here for so long.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I probably will eventually live here, I think, or at least buy property or some crazy thing like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So immaculate vibes for sure. I think for me, it's been 2.5 months since making this jump. Feel like I was getting a routine in Colombia, and then we had to pack up and move.
Packing's the worst.
So it's like you build like micro routines. It's not like when I was living in Chicago, I was like, cool, I got a year lease. I can set up for a year. Shit changes real fast.
Yeah.
So I think I was just like, that was the first move over here. We're not here for too long. Got to go back to the States to deal with some family stuff. And then we're keeping it moving to another 2 months. So I think I built a routine, but I think I've just accepted the fact that they're like what I said, a micro routine. We get here and we find our space, and first week is us figuring out who's going to work where, what we're going to use, how many outlets there are. Yeah. Before we had all separate bathrooms, so it didn't matter. Now there's one. It's cool. What's your schedule? What's my schedule? It makes it fun.
Yeah,
I think it's like interesting. So that's kind of my recap of how it's going so far. So good.
You regretting jumping in, man?
No, definitely not. did get hit with a little Mexican sickness.
Tuma's revenge. If you've ever been to Mexico, you know exactly what that is.
Yeah, it knocked me out for a good week. If you come here, my advice, I know everybody's, don't drink the water. But here's a tip. The water isn't in everything. You have to really be careful. Like the street tacos, the sauce they make, probably water in there.
Yep.
Brushing your teeth, even if it's just a little bit, there's water in there.
Yep.
So like, it's more than just like drinking water out of the tap. Obviously I didn't do that, but there's other stuff to consider. So just be really careful.
Especially here. Yeah. You know, water is not potable here because of their water crisis. I think they're calling this the world's first major water crisis that Mexico City's having right now. I've heard something like they have 2.5 months left of water, and they can't really pump under the city anymore because it'll have it sinking, and they haven't gotten rainfall in forever. And you have trucks that like bring in potable water and fill up the wells and these buildings, and then you go from there. You can't drink like regular water here. It's potable right now. So you have to, we have a filter, that's why I can still drink water, but yeah,
just be careful.
You just be careful. 10 days in, it's pretty normal to get sick. My body at this point is just, I've got all the bacteria. Like, things are cool. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, what you called it before, the revenge, it's supposed to, it's for like people that aren't from here. So it's just...
Revenge is specifically for street food.
Gotcha.
Specifically for street food. And I don't want to get into details of why you might know that, but I think that might be also part of it. A part of me maybe believes it's water with Evan, but yeah, I think you just had some street tacos that might have changed your life.
And the spiciness, I think we mentioned it, like Colombia does not know spice.
No way.
We got here and we were like, oh my goodness. So I think it was a little bit of that too. I was just like, ooh, what? I can take spice, but I guess my tummy thought otherwise.
We gotta remember who we are. We're just white Americans. Having Mexican level spiciness, which, boy, you cannot imagine. We've got some Mexican friends that I feel like they put all the salsa on everything, whether it's supposed to have it or not.
Yeah. It's like us with ketchup.
They're just built different. I don't know. I think I've said this before, I think every Mexican has a little bit of a hole in their stomach.
It's just got a shield around it or something. I'm a little jealous because I like the spice. It's just sometimes I just cannot take it. So
sometimes your body doesn't like it.
Yeah, it was something.
Just be careful when you come here. Just make sure you're paying attention to what you drink. This should be everywhere, but especially here.
Yeah, get some specific medicine. Maybe we'll drop that in the link. I'm not going to talk about it here. We'll talk about tummy problems, but the meds help. If you do need to go to the doctor, it's pretty easy to do.
Very easy.
I didn't go. I just powered through. But going to a clinic, I've heard from friends that live here, they're like, you can go. It's like really easy.
Yeah. You just walk into a pharmacy, and usually they have doctors on site, like with offices and things.
Yeah.
It's really easy. I did it last time I was here.
Yeah, for sure.
But to cap off the routine stuff, even I find myself getting into more of a routine like with Evan. I feel like it's helping our business move faster. I feel like we're having deeper level conversations, which is exactly what we really wanted. So much that March has been the best month for the business this year. And I think it's only going to continue growing. I mean, so that we can help artistpreneurs. That's what we love doing. And I think us being side by side and finding these micro routines allows for us to walk out the door. It's not a mountain every time we got to walk out the front door here, where we can go get coffee. I can bring it back in the morning. I'm not into my yoga routine and my reading routine in the morning yet. Hopefully that'll pick up in Africa, but we can do those things now. We can, in between meetings, go talk about what happened and move along with our clients much faster, which ultimately is what we need to do in order to grow and collaborate with ourselves and the rest of the people on our team. And I feel like that's really starting to settle in. Don't get me wrong, as I'm sure I'll share eventually, I've got lots of trouble traveling with people because people just don't get it, and they are just a different kind of mindset, which is okay. I have no judgment here, but I was a little nervous like settling in with somebody even if I've traveled with him, but I feel like it's working out really well. Sure, you're smelling up the bathroom here and there, but I can get over that. That's fine. It's the spice.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, good to hear. Yeah, I think business is great, like you said. Of course, we push online businesses. It's after COVID happened, online businesses are booming, but there's just something about working together in real life.
I agree with
Ran this
that.
business for over 10 years and very rarely have worked with people side by side, and it just, you move different.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah.
Online is great, but still, something special about building that routine.
Yeah.
We can turn around in our chairs and be like, hey, what happened here? Cool, tell me. We don't have to do a freaking Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and shout out Prentice, who we got to meet for the first time, a member of our team. How long have you been working with her? 6 months? About half a year or so, give or take?
6 to 8, I think.
Yeah, we've never met her, and Evan works very closely with her on our team, and we had the beautiful chance to have a couple of dinners with her, and super cool to be able to see that she lives in Mexico. She's such a smart woman. We get to pick her brain and talk all kinds of cool stuff, and have some great food. And that's the value, is that now we can actually come see some of these people. And we didn't get to work side by side with Prentice, which I don't think we need to. Prentice, if you want to work side by side, you can. But I think, that was a really cool thing to be able to do too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she lives like an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
She used to live here. She used to have a restaurant here.
Yeah.
So she's real cool. Definitely got an entrepreneurial spirit and just loves working with us, loves the work that we do. So I think it was a cool chance to finally meet up. She even said during dinner, she's like, it's surreal that you're not just like a display. You're not just a Zoom meeting. So yeah, we're real.
You are too. Surprised I'm a real person. I know it's hard to believe, but
yeah, that was very cool.
Outside of Mexico, I think the other big thing, talking about routines and just doing all of this, is the next steps are Morocco. We go back to the United States for a little bit, and then we head over to Morocco for 2 months. We'll be in Marrakesh with lots of places on our list of places to go inside Morocco. Very excited to take the train all over. And then we've got the 2 months in Istanbul after that, and then 2 months in Kenya after that, give or take, I think about a month and a half in Kenya, and then back to the States for an event that we have to be a part of. But we've got Morocco done. Morocco is fully planned, booked. Flights out is done. Istanbul's fully booked now at this point. Flights into Istanbul, not out, but we have flights in, and that's super cool. I'm super excited to have that done and just be able to move on to the next thing. We've got to get Kenya done and a little bit of stuff for the end of the year, but we're pretty much set and completed for the vast majority of the rest of the year, which feels great to have that level of planning done. Now, not everybody needs that, but it is really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's the piece. I think that's the piece of it that a lot of people are overwhelmed about. How do I even start? How do I even plan? People sometimes get overwhelmed planning a trip to Disney. But this is just a whole nother level. But it's really not that difficult. I my first trip with you to Egypt, I was like, how the heck do we even do this? But it wasn't that.
Now it's
bad.
a piece of cake. Yeah. That all being said, I think one of the best things that we've been able to do here is open this up for clients.
Yeah.
Being able to now take another step, and now that we're feeling a lot more comfortable, we've got a lot of stuff planned, we have recently been able to open this up for clients and say, okay, cool, this is something that I want to share with you, something I want to explore with you. And so we're going to take a couple of lucky artistpreneurs on a little trip. We're going to cover the Airbnbs, help them organize everything, and maybe open it up to Morocco or Kenya, and hopefully some other cool things soon.
Yeah, I think that just goes back into online's great. We're meeting a lot of people over the internet around the world that we may not have been able to work with before, but just something about sitting in a room and planning the business, planning content, planning all the elements that it takes to build a successful business just in real time. We can just move faster, and plus we can share this experience with people who are like seeing what we're doing. Wow, how are you guys doing this? I want to come. Like, cool, let's go.
And not many people have a friend, a mentor, a partner, somebody in their circle that they can just literally turn to and say, hey, you're going to that exotic destination. You know what you're doing. You're there for a long time. It's not just a vacation. Come out and travel with us. Come experience these things. Like, the places we're going are not Florida or LA or like New York.
Yeah.
We're not going to Paris, but just on a layover, right? We're not going to the typical spots. We're going to Morocco. Like, I know 2 people who have ever been to Morocco.
Same.
I don't know anybody who's ever been to Kenya. I don't know anybody that's ever been to Istanbul. Like, such a unique experience that I deeply want to share, and I think Evan wants to as well. And we feel like we're moving fast, like we're moving quickly with our business, and I want to be able to return the favor, to have somebody experience the stuff, confidently be able to have somebody on their side where they can say, okay, I don't have to worry about the complications of what happens in a Muslim country, or how do I get around when I don't speak French, or blah, 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 like those kinds of things. And also say, you know what, I'm an entrepreneur. Look what I did with my business. Look what I did.
Yeah, I think when clients come to us, it's like a big thing. It's like, I want financial freedom. I want the freedom to travel. But then it never really happens. They build that success, and then they get caught up in the business. I think this is just a chance for us to be like, hey, let's do both. Like, here's a chance for you to be pushed out of your comfort zone and actually take advantage of the thing you wanted with your business, with your own business. Like, you don't have to take pay time off. You don't have to take sick time. You just run your business from wherever. And I think that's a cool thing to share with some people.
Yeah. When I think about online offers too, it's very interesting. You a lot of times want to build an offer because you're passionate about it, right? You like do things that you find fun or freeing for yourself, and travel is one of those things for me. Luckily, I've been able to grow this business with Evan and the team here to this point where I can have this level of freedom, but really worldwide. Like, I want to eventually help other people travel, and I'm doing this for essentially for free here with clients, and this is just a fun way to maybe try a beta test on what this could look like eventually. Like, it doesn't always have to be super complicated. Figure out and fill one cup, and then you can start to fill the others. Like, you don't need to. I always use the example when I'm talking to potential clients on calls where I say, imagine 7 solo cups, like red solo cups in front of you. Because I think the statistic is that you're supposed to have, as a millionaire, like 7 income streams in order to be a sustainable millionaire. And so most people want to fill each one of those cups with a little bit of water and then just keep going back and filling them up. I feel like I'm filling one cup, and now it's starting to overflow into the others, which is a lot of fun. It puts less pressure on Willie Worldwide. I can enjoy the travel with clients, deliver value, and then also maybe come out on the other side with some cool stuff for myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do less better. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe and all that other stuff. We're going to be dropping some more episodes once we get over to Morocco, probably. Lots of interest with Africa. Lots of interest. Stay tuned. Appreciate y'all.
See you in Morocco.